You know how it goes. A wildfire is finally contained, the news crews pack up, and the story seems to be over. But for thousands of people in California, that's when the real disaster is just getting started. So today, we're going to dig into the hidden crisis of wildfire recovery, a story that's not just about rebuilding houses, but about rebuilding entire lives against some pretty incredible odds. Let's start with a number: 440. Now, that isn't just a statistic. That represents an estimated 440 lives lost in the devastating California wildfires. It's a gut punch reminder of the human cost, and it really frames the urgency of what has to happen next for the thousands who survived. To really get a handle on the challenge these survivors are facing, we first have to look at the sheer scale of the devastation. And believe me, it goes way beyond what you typically see in the headlines. We're talking about the Eaton and Palisades fires, which just ripped through 59 square miles. Thousands were forced to flee their homes. And what so many are finding out the hard way is that the path back to normal, well, that's not a sprint. It's a marathon that can stretch on for years. So, in response to this crisis, California lawmakers proposed what seems like a pretty straightforward solution on the surface: an emergency lifeline for homeowners called Assembly Bill 238. At the heart of this bill is a tool called mortgage forbearance. Really, you can just think of it like a pause button. It gives homeowners who are in serious financial trouble a way to temporarily stop or at least reduce their mortgage payments without getting hit with penalties. The process looks simple enough, right? A homeowner affected by the fires applies for help, they get an initial 90-day break from payments, and they can even extend that relief for up to a year. It's designed to give them some immediate breathing room. But is it really that simple? Well, this is where the story gets a lot more complicated. The California Mortgage Bankers Association, or CMBA, they jumped into the conversation with a really critical perspective. They totally agree homeowners need help, but they're warning everyone that we need to be looking much, much further down the road. The CMBA's CEO, Paul Gigliotti, he uses this fantastic analogy to describe forbearance. He calls it a bridge. It's built to get people from the immediate chaos of the disaster to the beginning of their recovery. And that's the crucial question, isn't it? A bridge is only useful if the land on the other side is stable. So what are these survivors actually facing once that temporary relief period ends? It turns out the other side of that bridge is a tangled mess of interconnected problems. The CMBA argues that focusing only on the mortgage payment is kind of like fixing one tiny leak on a ship that has a dozen giant holes in it. And man, this quote just hits the nail on the head. A disaster like this sets off a massive chain reaction. It's not one problem. It's a whole cascade of issues that hits families all at once, affecting their housing, their insurance, their whole financial life. This right here illustrates the huge gap perfectly. The intent of the bill is noble, no question: offer a lifeline. But the reality for victims is a total bureaucratic nightmare. We're talking insurance delays, endless backlogs for rebuilding permits, and a severe shortage of temporary housing. So let's break down these links in the chain because it's wild. Victims are waiting months and months for insurance payouts. The county offices that issue building permits, they are so backed up. Everything's stalled. And with a lack of temporary housing, rents are just going through the roof. It's a complete system breakdown. And there's another crucial point we have to understand about this so-called bridge of forbearance. It's not free. It has a real cost. So while the homeowner gets to hit pause, somebody still has to make that payment to the investors who actually own the mortgage. And that somebody is the lender. It's not free money. It's a very real financial burden that lenders have to carry for their customers. Okay, so if a simple pause button isn't the whole answer, then what is? Well, the CMBA is arguing for a much more comprehensive, collaborative solution. The core idea is actually simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. Everybody involved needs to get in the same room and work together. Instead of these fragmented single-issue bills, they're calling for a truly coordinated, holistic policy for disaster recovery. And who needs to be in that room? You need state officials, you need the mortgage industry, you need the insurance companies, and you absolutely need the housing stakeholders, the people who actually deal with permits and construction. The CMBA's point is that each one of them holds a critical piece of the recovery puzzle. The stakes here are incredibly high, but the opportunity is huge too. The CMBA believes that if they can create a truly collaborative model, California could literally set a new standard for the entire country on how to help communities recover and rebuild even stronger after disaster.
And that leaves us with this final thought. When we're faced with these overwhelming, complex problems, from climate change to housing crises, we're always looking for that one simple fix. But what the story of wildfire recovery in California really tells us is that we have to think bigger. We have to think more collaboratively to build a bridge not just over troubled water, but all the way to a future that's actually stable and secure.